Welcome to Cape Breton Movers and Shakers, where we have conversations with people who are doing positive things here in Cape Breton. I'm Richard Lorway, president of goCapeBreton.com, and today I'm talking with Lee Fraser, co-founder of Live Life Intense in Margaree Forks, Cape Breton. Welcome, Lee.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, great to have you here. So tell me about Live Life Intense. How did you get started? You just started with your brother, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we started this about. I'm kind of up in the air. It's kind of a weird situation because we started like 6 years ago, but that year was we didn't launch until the end of the season, simply because I had commitments with an offshore company that I was working with. So we kind of never counted that year, but technically it's been 6 years we've been in business, but I only really count 5 because that first summer was a wash. But yeah, we started it in 2000. I'm trying to remember now, 2016, I think. Ish, somewhere around there. And it was kind of just came out of a lot of things that had been building up over the year. That was the year Trump got elected. So there was the Cape Breton if Trump wins website. There was a lot of interest, a lot of movement pushing in towards tourism and leaning in towards it with Tourism Nova Scotia. And they had their, that's kind of probably off the table now. It was like X amount of revenue, quadrupling revenue by 2021 or 2022, whatever. So there's a lot of push to boost, adventure tourism and tourism in general. And there was a gap in the market here, and we just kind of did it for fun. We both work full time, and we just bought some camping gear. I took $5,000, bought a bunch of camping gear. We started renting it out with a plan to develop a backpackers hostel, which because of some roadblocks we ran into with that building and property, we ended up just operating from where we currently operate now. That was supposed to be temporary. And, 5 years later, we're still there. So
Super.
It's kind of how things got started with us.
So you and your brother grew up kind of having a lot of experience in the woods. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. My family's in the forestry business. We grew up with a sawmill in our backyard, and they had, and my grandmother ran the business when I was a kid, and then my father took it over. And it had anything from machines and guys, crews in the woods cutting lumber to milling it up and shipping it to like Fine Wood Flooring, Rivers Bend. Some businesses that aren't in existence anymore, but a lot of like fine woodworking shops and cabinet makers and stuff. And then we kind of grew up in that industry. And then my father ran Boy Scouts when I was a kid. And what I found out it was only a couple of years ago that I found out that when he got approached to run it here in Margaree, he said he had one condition, that he could take his kids no matter what age with them. So I was pretty much yoinked out of beavers when I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, and backpack strapped to my back. And yeah, we would do a lot of multi-day hikes. It was called Boy Scouts, but it was mostly think of crazy things to do in the woods and take a bunch of, I don't know how they ever let my father do that when we were kids with
different
the kids,
times,
but yeah, like winter camping and building zip lines and all kinds of crazy stuff. So we spent a lot of time with Boy Scouts, and that kind of got me out super early. I was first started hiking when I was like 5, and it was the bigger hikes and more multi-day backcountry, and that kind of got me hooked.
Great. So the kind of experiences, first of all, what do you guys provide? I mean, what are your basic services?
It's kind of evolved over the years. We started out as an equipment, like an outfitter, like an equipment rental company, because I found over the years, I had been pretty much equipping all my friends with camping gear, advising them on trails and where to go. And not just on Cape Breton Island, but, in and around Halifax, but primarily Cape Breton Island. And when I moved home, we started out just renting camping gear and providing like a service where we would give you guys or the client a kind of a customized experience around Cape Breton Island, ask what you guys are interested in, and then tell you, here's your itinerary. These are different trails, different things to do. Along that way, we found out that there wasn't that many operators willing to give us a commission if we sent bookings their way. So we started to try to develop our own experiences, which is when we thought about doing tubing, which is actually my brother's idea. It was something we did since we were a little kid, but that's pretty much one of the main parts of our business every year. It is definitely something that sends the most traffic to our website, more so than camping. So we've gotten away from renting camping gear so much, and we're more primarily into tours. So we built a small campground, which is a very small 14-site campground, mixture of unserviced campsites, bring your own tent sort of stuff. And then we have a fully equipped glamping tents, which are come with queen beds and cots and bedding, towels, cookware, all that sort of stuff. And then we kind of built our own business once we started building the accommodation side and the tour side. Then we kind of started reaching out to other local companies. Jeremy Smith, who runs Cape Breton West paddleboards, and then a couple local fishing guides to include those into packages. So you book accommodations with us, and tours are discounted. So trying to build kind of like a little bit of a mini resort model that kind of you can build your own packages and experiences based off of what we do in our partner companies. That's kind of where we're at right now. So we do accommodations, tenting, glamping, river tubing. We facilitate Jeremy's tours, manages bookings for him, and send him business. So we partner with him on paddleboard and kayak tours. We do guided hiking tours primarily in the fall. And then we, help people we're kind of the middleman between clients that stay with us and fishing guides here on the river.
Wow. Okay. So, and now we have destination Cape Smokies starting. So there seems to be more activities building around the Cabot Trail in general. Is that your sense?
Yes, there is. It's been an increase. I mean, that's just getting more traffic to the area. Ingonish is going to take off. I mean, I said that a couple of years ago when I was up there getting a tour of the place while we were shooting a documentary that we did. That might have been almost 3 years ago now when we filmed it. And we were getting the tour when Martin Cavall had just bought Smoky, and I said, man, this place, if I was going to invest in an area, I'd be investing in Ingonish or somewhere's up north, because the traffic, once they get this thing up and running, is going to be crazy. But yeah, there's been more of an interest in getting outside. We just saw the last couple of years that like just hiking, and when we started 5 years ago, it was primarily park stuff within the Cape Breton Highlands National Park, which every customer that we saw coming by our property would be going to the park. And this year, a little bit of last year, but primarily this year, it's been a lot of stuff that has not the typical trails. People are looking for alternate things to do. So there's more of an industry being built here. So there's different hikes being pushed. Seawall Trail is being, pushed through. Hopefully that starts development next year, which is, if people that are listening to this are unfamiliar, that's the multi-day hut-to-hut hiking trail from Meat Cove to Pleasant Bay. I know Parks Canada has been working on new trails and new offerings. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening that's coming. So it's great to see, as somebody that grew up in Cape Breton Island doing all this stuff. I knew that this was a potential, but never really knew how to market that to people.
Right. So, back in my day, and I'm old now.
No, you're not.
Yeah, well, you're only as old as you feel anyway. But I mean, so camping is a lot more, I guess, roughing it. You had a tent, you had a Coleman stove or a campfire. And do campers expect more now in terms of amenities? Is that a bigger slice of people? Do you know what I mean?
Listen, I've gotten in an argument with relatives of mine, because a lot of relatives own different styles of vacation homes, and
It's just an old man's argument I'm making here.
Different. Well, no, yeah, yes and no. The way we set everything up with our facilities was to give more of an authentic kind of camping experience, but being close to, we're pretty much on the Cabot Trail, that sort of stuff. So,
yeah.
And plus we didn't know, like, getting into it, we didn't really know what, the outcome was. I still thought, 5 years ago, that we're going to be moving upriver into a hostel. So I didn't want to put a lot of investment into our property. Now, with that said, I did buy the property next door, and we're looking to expand and build more campsites. But as far as like amenities, I find that the clientele that we deal with are looking for the exact sort of thing that we're dealing with. As long as, like, you know, you don't have to have big fancy bathrooms and spend all this money, and that's great and all if that's what you want to do, but we just have pit toilets, outdoor showers, everything's heated, everything's clean, everything's kept up to snuff. And that's pretty much what people are looking for. Quiet, not overcrowded campgrounds. Even getting into doing, you know, walk-in campsites similar to what Kejimkujik did or does,
Right.
which are, you know, wooded campsites that are a well-groomed trail that you could walk into and pretty much wheel a case to, but it's a fun experience for families and stuff that want to have that feeling of being, you know, in the middle of the woods, but you're, you know, half a kilometer from your car, sort of deal. So
Right.
that sort of stuff, I feel like, you know, people are looking more for that sort of stuff. Like a lot of the comments we get is how quiet. Well, sometimes, I mean, the odd weekend you get a little rowdy people, but sometimes our place is super quiet. Clear skies, that sort of stuff. And that's what the majority of the clients are looking for.
Right. They're looking to basically get away from media and have some mental space.
Yes. And you don't have to do, you know, I'm a sucker for big trips and lots of adversity, lots of up and down, hard stuff, but you don't really have to do that to get out in the middle of nowhere. So you can pretty much, you know, get to it's places like campsites like ours or anything else that's, you know, relatively close by, even cottages and stuff. But yeah, there is a massive clientele base that is looking for that sort of stuff. And when we got into it, it was a market that wasn't really, there was a gap in that market. I'll just put it that way. Everybody else was competing for the same group of people and the same demographic. And we just said, well, I want to start looking at the backpacker type crowd, primarily younger, you know, 20s, 30s. That's my age group. I know what that age group's looking for, but listen, we get people from all ages that, you know, are on a budget. They're wanting to come through. They enjoy this sort of stuff. And yeah, it's been fun trying to, you know, it's been fun getting to know and meeting all these people as they go through and asking a lot of questions and finding out from those clients what they actually want. And this sort of stuff is exactly it.
Okay. So what's the future hold for Live Life Intense? What's your future vision?
Who knows, man? Who knows? No, the first 5 years were pretty much just figuring it out. It was like everybody that I talked to and that we talked to thought there was a grand master plan when we got into it. We were just, you know, two guys that grew up around here just trying to have fun and do stuff for the summer, and things just started to take off. So which required me to take full focus and leave my previous career to then focus on this full time. So I pretty much work year round on developing new experiences and trying to do different things. We're really trying to push the kind of tour side, multi-day tour side. Improving stuff on our campground and putting new sites as far as accommodation wise, some trails around the property that we currently have the campground on this one that I'm at today next door. So we have like 200 acres that we can play with, putting trails, biking and running trails are in the future. But really trying to push the multi-day experiences. This winter, we've got 2 trips that we're going to be doing, working with parks on one of them. If people knew or followed us a couple of years ago, we did a 5-day snowshoe trip from Anganish to Shetty Camp. So we're going to redo that route this year. And then we're going to pick a different a route up in that same northern region, but another multi-day trip. So, but we're looking at, you know, we supply all the gear and we just give you the experience. You come, everything's turnkey. That's the kind of slogan of our company, is just turnkey adventures. You don't have to worry about anything. You just bring your own personal items and then we'll supply it all, because the biggest part, as far as where I stand, for people to do a lot of this more multi-day trips, is what we want to push, is the access to the proper gear and equipment if somebody's not fully into, you know, that sort of lifestyle. So kind of knocking down some of those barriers and opening it up to make it a little more accessible to people is kind of what the plan is. And then hopefully the plan hopefully is to get people out and experience these things, and then, they either hate it or love it. Hopefully they'll love it, and then they'll spread the word and influence more and more people to get outside, which creates a bigger industry here and more of a market for different experiences from different companies and that sort of stuff. So it's that's kind of like the next steps for us.
Excellent.
Is to do that. Yeah.
So one final question, kind of open-ended. If you had one piece of advice for someone thinking of starting a business along the Cabot Trail, tourism related, what would it be?
Do it.
Just do it. Oh, there you go.
That's it. Don't think about it. Just do it. I mean, that's I think a lot of people, think that that's going to be your thing and that's going to sustain you. And it's not going to be easy, but I don't think a lot of people fully understand how difficult it is to start a business here in rural Cape Breton Island, and also an industry that's still growing. I mean, it's been here for ages, but taken from somebody that grew up living in rural Cape Breton. I mean, when I was a kid, Margaree, the beaches, the river swimming hole, everything was packed full of people. People are always coming here. Like Portree was the biggest vacation spot for people that worked and lived in Sydney. I mean, there's still some of the families that own property there, but I remember going to bridges, Cranton Bridge, Portree Bridge, and it'd be like 50, 60 people on the beach. You're lucky to find 2 or 3 people like in the last couple of years, and stuff's starting to come back. People are the tourism industry is starting to grow exponentially. There's been more opportunity for people to do stuff around the trail. But it's going to be a slug. So it's not easy to start a business. If you have an idea and you want to get it off the ground, just make a plan and go for it. Just launch it and see what happens. I mean, you're going to have to work a side job or 2 side jobs. I worked offshore for the first 4 years. So that would always dictate when we opened in the summer. So it'd be whenever I was flying in from overseas was when I opened. So it could be start of July, it could be mid-July, it could have been June. But I just went and did it. And then at a certain time, it becomes a decision you have to make. So, and then either jump in with 2 feet or don't jump in at all, let it flop. But I mean, if people are thinking about doing something, that's my biggest advice, is just to do it, not be afraid of failing. Just go ahead and do it, because, no time like the present. And if it fails, then you can reevaluate and start something else and do it again. And if not, if that's not for you, then that's okay. At least you tried it. Yeah.
Better to know. Yeah. Oh, listen, thanks so much for your time today, Lee.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
I've been speaking with Lee Fraser, co-owner of Live Life Intense in Margaree Forks, Cape Breton, and we'll see you next time on Cape Breton Movers and Shakers.